Hello, and welcome to Hygiene Elevated Conversations and Innovations. Today, we are joined by Dannia Chavis. So, Dannia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Dannia, we're really excited to have you here. We've been following each other on social media for some time, but today's our day to get to know you more, learn more about your journey into hygiene and your career and what we can expect to see from you in the future. So we'd love to have you just start off and tell us about your journey into dental hygiene and how you ended up in this career.
I feel like it just happened. I knew I didn't mind teeth because growing up, my dad, he never went to the dentist. So he always had a broken tooth or needed something done, but he never actually got it done. So I would clean out his teeth and put the temporary fillings that you get at the drugstore. I was many dentistry.
Wow.
And all my siblings were like, ew, that's disgusting. But I was just like, whatever. It didn't bother me. So I knew from a young age I didn't mind working in people's mouths. Some people really think it's disgusting. So I knew I would be comfortable in that space. And then I dual enrolled in high school. That's when you start college while you're still in high school. It had clicked in my mind. I was like, oh crap, I have to actually pick a real major. No, I just started scrolling through my community colleges, programs, and majors, and I saw dental hygiene. I didn't really know much about it. I knew I liked biology in my science courses. So I was just like, F it, let's go for it. So I took the classes, I applied, really not knowing how competitive it was. A lot of people get super nervous and stressful when they're applying because of how competitive it is. I had no clue because I wasn't talking to anyone about it, and I'm glad. I was carefree about it. Did my courses, did the best I could, applied, and luckily I got into my first try. It just happened, and here we are, and I love it. So
Beautiful.
I can sympathize with that. I feel like I was blissfully ignorant of the challenges that some people had getting in. My big sister in hygiene school was really on top of me. "Hey, have you turned in your application yet?" I'm like, "No, it's not due till tomorrow." And she's, "Get it in." And I was like, "It's tomorrow." So,
right, we're just like,
hey,
gosh,
it's a deadline for
oh,
a reason.
yeah. So,
All right. So, Danier, in your experiences looking for employment after hygiene school, what are some of your preferences regarding choosing an employer to work for?
I don't really have preferences. I have mandatory requirements. Use if you don't address perio, I can't work there. I can't
Mm,
work there. Like, you have to address perio. You have to take it seriously. It can't just be every appointment, "Oh, we'll watch it, watch it. We'll
mm,
see if it gets better." Then you're gonna see if something gets worse or bigger. Have to address perio. And then I think that goes along with respecting hygienists as providers.
mm.
On paper, we don't get the last straw as far as what treatment is gonna be, but we're trained to have a dental hygiene diagnosis. So if you can't respect that and communicate with me on coming to a conclusion or a complete treatment plan, then I just can't be in that space because we're also trained to advocate for our patients. If I start feeling like I'm advocating against my doctor and their plan, oh, I gotta go.
Now,
I
you're
would
pretty
totally.
sorry, you pretty have a strong feeling, pretty new in your career, which I feel like it took me years to develop. I feel
Mhm.
like new hygienist was, "Oh, whatever the doctor says," and over time, I realized I really have to speak up. What
Mhm.
helped you to be firm and professional when it comes to advocating for your professional stance?
I think it might just be my personality combined with my school. I went to a really good hygiene program. I knew they were known for being a good program, but after coming out of it, I see why people appreciate this program. I went to a community college in Baltimore County. They were very strict on, like, it is what it is. You have to stage and grade your patients, you have to recognize disease and be aggressive about it, and you have to educate your patients. So they train me like, you see something, you say something. So I'm always telling my patients all of my finding. If you tell a patient, like, I'm seeing infection, I'm seeing your gums bleeding, I'm seeing this, patients usually say, okay, so what do we do about that? How do you respond to that? The dentist comes in, they're like, oh, looks good. See you in 6 months. The doctor was like, "6 months." I said, 3. 3 months. You do 3 months? He said, "Yeah, 3 months. See you in 3 months." And the patient does it too. They're like, "No, I come every 3 months now." They not So I think it's just I like to do things the way that they should be done. I like to do a great job. I don't like to halfway do something. And my school just did a really good job of making sure we were addressing any problems that our patients had.
Good for them. Good for you.
There has been a great trend that I've seen in our last 3 podcast guests, and there was a quote that one of them did, and I think it works with what you just expressed. Work in an office that you work with, not for a
Mhm.
dentist you work for. It's the value of you as a provider. You're collaborating. You're not just a yes man in that practice. You're there providing care for your patients. I appreciate what you're bringing to the table as a
Oh,
hygienist.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I love how much I hear the words. No one's ever told me this before. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for telling me about that. Like, I'm glad that I could give my patient that and that they're happy to hear things about themselves and learn new things when they see me. But I'm also like, you're 45. This should not be the first time you're hearing this.
It does make me sad when I see people provided that level of care and getting the career charting and the education, but we all just keep advocating and encouraging each other to do a good job. That's why we're here, Hygiene Elevated, helping each other raise the bar and get the best care for our patients. But I know you've talked about like you really like working in an office with specialists or like a DSO office, which is so opposite to me. So tell us a little bit about why you love offices like that.
Not everyone can work in those environments. If
Mhm.
you can't advocate for yourself and your patients and you are too afraid to challenge the dentist, you're going to be uncomfortable because you're just in the flow of whatever's going on rather than changing what's going on to fit your goals and standards. So I think I've been able to adapt in the DSO space because I will go into an office and tell them this is not how we're doing things anymore versus just going with the flow. But I do like DSLs because of all the resources that they have. As a new grad, I had a ton of educational materials. I had never done whitening in school. I can just go into their system on the computer and there were videos, there were consent forms for me to just print out. Like I didn't really have to think too much. I was just able to easily educate myself with the things that were provided. They had consent forms in different languages that I could just print out. I didn't have to go on the internet and search, like, does this meet a certain standard? Is this appropriate? Does this hit all boxes? A lot of resources, especially for a new grad. Have good budgets for supplies. Specifically, my DSL, we always had good supplies, up-to-date equipment and technology, and they were prioritizing addressing perio. There are some places that overdiagnose, but I've seen that in private practice. To me, DSO, private, it's all just a building. They're all the
It's really good that you find a clinical home where you can provide the best care for your patient. As hygienists, we're always looking for ways to elevate our standard of care and deliver better care for our patients. Is there any specific thing clinically that you're looking to learn or develop more?
Not necessarily. I am interested in this new talk about the fillers for the interdental spaces, like filling the papilla so that they close those interdental spaces. I think that's beneficial. But in general, I am looking to go back to school, but not necessarily for more clinical skills.
Okay, like I've never heard about Botox and interdental
I know. Thank you for diving into that. I was like, hold on.
No, I don't think it's necessarily Botox because
oh,
they're
or fillers. I'm sorry,
yes,
fillers.
Yeah,
yes.
filler.
So basically, like, we've seen patients who maybe had ortho or a lot of calc for a long period of time on Sextant 5. So they'll have that blunted papilla in that space. Those patients get built up quicker, they get food stuck there, they may have sensitivity. I have seen, like, filling the papilla will help fill that space. It's not permanent. I'm sure you've heard of hygienists talking about wanting to do Botox and fillers in our spaces, so who knows where that'll go.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard about that. I think that is a very interesting, like, the interesting concept, but it's interesting to think like that should absolutely be something in our scope of practice. We have so at Hygiene Elevated, we are very passionate about hygienists being able to practice to the full scope of their license. And we have a t-shirt that says let hygienists do Botox.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yes, that is us. So that is definitely something we're passionate about. Like, we have the education, we have the skill set. Why can we not do this? It's something that's not permanent, and we're not doing anything to that tooth structure. So that's a very interesting concept that I
Yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
heard of before.
Well, you have to do some research on it.
Yeah.
I found it's been 16 years since I've been a hygienist. If I didn't always look for something new to do clinically, I would get very bored of this profession. As much as I love people, it can get repetitive. But
Mhm.
every year or two, I'm kind of reinventing myself. In the past 2 years, I started doing salivary testing and curodont and laser. Those three things have really brought so much excitement to my repertoire because it's something different. I'm looking at similar cases are same patients, but from a different angle. What can I do differently to help you achieve the results that you need? And so I always encourage people to look for more things to do so that we don't get burnout, we don't get bored, and our patients get better care. I think it's a great thing to do. Have you ever been to RDH under one roof?
I haven't been, but I did look into it. I haven't been there.
We're big fans.
You gotta go because when you leave, you're like, okay, I'm doing this.
Mhm.
Oh, there's some inspiration. Some
Uh-huh.
inspiration.
Tell me a little bit, like, where do you practice? Because you have the license to prescribe medication within your scope of practice. So I want to know more about that because that's not common and not something that I think many hygienists are able to do. So, how does that work and how has that been helpful for you in your practice?
Not really a popular thing. Maryland's the eighth state. I practice in Maryland's the eighth state to get that bill passed so that we can have what's called a limited prescriber's license. There were two hygienists that got that bill passed. Her name
Yes.
is Suzanne Berge. She's an amazing dental hygienist and educator at University of Maryland School of Dentistry. I did take the first course in Maryland taught by her in order to apply for that license last October. So basically, it was like a mini farm course. Can't say that I learned anything. It was just things that were super applicable to the license from the pharmacology course I had already taken before in school. Really related to hygiene. We can prescribe 600 milligrams of ibuprofen for 3 days after SRP, antimicrobial rinses like chlorhexidine, fluoride supplements, and fluoride toothpaste. I haven't written a prescription yet. We have the rinses, the pastes, and things like that in house. So haven't really needed to. It's more so beneficial, I think, in the public health space where you're doing independent hygiene in an underserved area. You don't have a doctor around, but someone needs something prescribed. Ibuprofen 600 is not crazy. An antimicrobial. So I think it is appropriate that we're able to provide that for our patients, even if the dentist is not around.
I would agree with that 100%. I love that. Do you happen to know what other states are allowing hygienist prescribing rights? I think Tennessee is one I've heard of.
I don't know. I tried to look it up and I couldn't find a lot of information on it, which was strange. But at the same time, I'm not surprised because I'm sure when we go into our state's health website, it's just it's hard to find anything in there. So I did struggle to find the other states.
So you mentioned that you want to go back to school. What kind of things are you interested in expanding your career or other things you want to explore?
I definitely want to keep my options open for other clinical roles or opportunities, but I'm more focused on non-clinical things. Olivia, you may relate to this from what I know about you. You've gotten into that space of not being so clinical, like in the office, but still contributing to the healthcare field and to your patients from afar. I am looking into getting my bachelor's and then my master's eventually in something that'll give me more options non-clinically, but I know I want to teach hygiene someday.
Oh.
Okay. We know some educators. That's such a rewarding field, and we have some of our favorite hygienists that are educators, and what is it? The happy not Happy Tooth, Billy is her name. I just love
Is it the
Billy.
happy age? Oh, no,
Yeah, okay, it is the happy RDH. I love Billy so much. The things that she does, she just goes above and beyond for her students. She is just so inspiring. I wish I had an instructor like her back in the day when I was going through school.
Yeah, they
Mm,
make a world of difference.
yeah. So I was having a conversation with some hygienists about this the other day on social media, talking about how useful a bachelor's in dental hygiene or a master's in dental hygiene. And a lot of people said not super useful, depending on what you want to do with that degree. I've been of the opinion that if you were to do something like marketing or business, you could take that in a lot of directions as opposed to a bachelor's or master's in dental hygiene. Amanda, I know you have your bachelor's in dental hygiene, right? Do you have an opinion on that?
I do feel like having a bachelor's gives you more of a springboard into other options, especially because it's science based. I think I would say I don't want to say biggest regret, but if I could go back and talk to freshman Amanda, I would say minor in business. No
Mm.
matter what you do, even if you are just clinical, having that business background and business mindset would be so valuable. I didn't specifically seek out a bachelor's program. It was just the only one available in my area that made any sense for me to do. And financially, it made a lot of sense for me to do it in New Mexico because we had the lottery scholarship. So I graduated debt free with a bachelor's degree. Yes, it made financial sense to me. I see some hygienists that are graduating with an associate's degree and they're $50,000 in debt. And my heart just goes out to them because I'm like, that's private school education that guarantees you an associate's degree and a job. But to me, the juice is not worth the squeeze on that. Like $50,000, that's
That's
a
insane.
lot of money. That's a lot of
Yeah,
money.
I appreciate you saying that because I have been going back and forth with what I wanna go back for and hearing from other hygienists, like what you just said, like your regrets or things
Mm.
you would have done differently or your experience now is really helpful for me, especially since in most offices, you're the only hygienist, so you don't really have immediate people to talk to. But I have decided I don't wanna do another degree in dental hygiene because it doesn't really open that many options. So I was thinking more like healthcare administration or managerial roles, since
Mm.
a lot of the issues we see in our tiny little offices can be issues with management or just the office environment. Yeah, I'm thinking more that route.
That would be outstanding because if you have a broad scope understanding of how insurances work, the finances behind healthcare, how to keep your teams productive, how to keep them happy, how to keep them safe, these things are so valuable. And you're right, many dental offices, being small businesses, are really lacking that kind of structure and advocacy needed for good work environment. So I think that's beautiful and it could be applied in so many different settings. So we're cheering you on, Dannia.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you mentioned your followers earlier. So you have an Instagram account. What motivated you to start, can we call it an influencer account?
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's what it is. But when people say it, people
That
probably
sounds
didn't see
so
it too, and
weird.
you're like, how do I feel about that word? But I think when I started it, I was still in dental hygiene school. It was pretty early on. And my motivation initially was probably just friends and family don't want to see all this stuff. Let me just make another account and then filter it over there for the people who do want to
Mhm.
see this stuff. And I just wanted to document it, share it for my own memories. But that has changed over time. I think since I've had a lot of students follow my account and still follow my account and interact with it, I think it is mostly students or people looking into the field. So now it's more of a goal to be a resource for those people. Since I went to school during COVID, we didn't have a lot of contact even with each other as classmates. Having a strong bond with a mentor or anyone that I could really talk to. Like I had that page, but it wasn't as big as it is now, it wasn't as interactive as it is now. So I didn't have someone to go ask questions to or just vent to about things in the program. So I feel like now that's what I provide for students who are currently in the program.
That's beautiful. It's nice you can be there for them. And I wanted to ask, do you feel like your social media account has opened any doors for you? And what would you say if there was somebody who was thinking about starting one, but they're maybe nervous to do it?
It's definitely opened some doors for me. I think My favorite thing is probably the community because that's just priceless. Like, I know hygienists from all over the country now. So if I have a question about something, I have so many people I can run to and ask, call, text, anything. I have friends who have come to visit me because they want to see if they want to do hygiene in Maryland. It's a priceless network, and I love that. Definitely made a lot of good relationships through my social media account, gotten some sponsorships. I would say if you're thinking about starting your own page, just do it because you never know who needs to hear what you feel like you want to share and say to the world. And those are your people. Like, why not open up the door to connect with your people? Like, I love my hygiene page. I have a personal page too, but I'm more so on my hygiene page because that's where I feel comfy and at home. My personal page is where I see everybody's business and personal drama.
It is funny whenever I talk about my friends, when I'm talking with my mom or my aunt, that older generation, and they'll just say, "Oh, your internet friends." I'm like, "Yeah, but they're real." And I've met a lot of them in real life.
And they
Yes.
fly to see me. Like, these are real friends.
Yes, they
Mhm, they're
are.
friends.
They are. So on your page, you talk about financial literacy a lot. How did this become a passion for you? And why is it something that you feel is important to discuss within this space?
I think I'll start with your second question. I
Sure.
think it's important to discuss in this space because I'm sure we've all seen and this is no shade. I'm sure we've all seen like the travel nurses calculating like, oh, if I do this trip, if I do this shift, I can get this Chanel bag. If I do this travel assignment, I can go on this trip. And it's like equating your time spent of your life that you don't get back to if I give my time to this, I can get this material thing. And because people are starting to see that temp hygiene is a thing, how much money hygienists are making, that's attracting a lot of the students. Like they're seeing the dollar amounts and they're just like, oh, I want to get into this for the money. But if you get into it for the money and you somehow pass without having a passion, because you don't have passion for this, I don't know how you get through this school. If you start getting those hygiene checks and you're just blowing it away, going on trips, buying the things, getting a new this and a bigger that, you're not going to have much left over. And it's such a physical job. You have to make sure that you're going to retire comfortably. You have money set aside, saved, invested, so that when your body gets tired of doing this every day, you have options. That's also part of why I'm looking into going back to school so I can have other options. But yeah, we definitely need to have more conversations about it so that it's louder than oh, I'm gonna be a temp hygienist so I can buy this Benz. So I think that's why it's important. I think for me, it wasn't something I was always aware of. It wasn't something I was always educated in, just like most people, because I know what it's like to not have financial stability and have parents who weren't the most financially literate. So once I started college and I was really on my own and had my first job, I realized like money's a tool. And if you don't train it to work for you, you're not gonna have anything. You're not gonna have the things you want. You're not gonna have the things you need. So that kind of sparked me to, okay, let me do some research. Google is at our fingertips. We have AI and all these different resources. We have YouTube, we have podcasts, we have people. Like ask actual people. I love asking my patients, especially my older patients. I'm sure you guys have asked them like some wild questions, maybe just about anything in life. Like, how are you married for 25? So what's the secret? Or like, how did you retire early? I love talking to real people about real things. So that's the best way. Just educate yourself. If you don't know about it, there's really no excuse. The information is out there.
Mhm. It's good advice. Make your career work for you rather than working so hard and not having anything to show for it. Many of us have come from backgrounds where we didn't have that financial education. And so just really understanding what is a 401k, what is a Roth IRA, if you're attempting what to do about taxes, how much money should you be putting aside? All these things are really important. So it's good to bring it up. Some people are shy to talk about money, but it's great. We all need to talk about it a little more, I think.
We work for free. Nobody does hygiene for free. Yeah. And since you mentioned that, that's another reason I do like DSOs. If you have a DSO near you that's a healthy environment, the fact that they offer so many retirement plans usually, that is nice.
So if you could go back and give young Danier, new grad RDH, some advice, what would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? Leave that first job sooner. Get out of there. My first job out of school, it was hard for me to leave. It's hard for you to leave that first time, but once you exercise that muscle, it's easier the next time. That office showed me a lot that they didn't value me, didn't keep their word on a lot of things. I did finally leave after a little over a year. Got my second job. I left after a couple months because I had a lot of confidence after I left the first. Second one was probably worse. So after I left that job, now I'm at my new job, which is great. They appreciate me. They show me that they value me in every way. I love it. So I would tell myself, leave.
Mhm.
They say to give you like 2 or 3. Yeah. Don't wait too long. Just go. Yeah.
Very solid advice.
And
Okay. So, what is something you wish you learned in school that took you a long time to figure out as a RDH?
mm, I had a lot of resources coming out of school, but CDT codes, like the
Mm,
insurance code, your office is supposed to provide them for you, but they're not always easily accessible. Luckily, they were accessible for me. So I did research and got familiar with the codes that I was using and charging out on my patients. Codes are supposed to be mostly for documentation. This is what I did. Just like our notes, they should be accurately used, but they don't teach you that in school. At least they didn't teach it in mine. Did they teach it in yours?
No.
no,
No. Okay.
insurance was like
Yeah.
a term that we talked about, but no details.
Yeah, they don't teach you about the insurance codes in school, so it's like when you get out, I think that contributes to the just going whatever the doctor says or whatever the codes that are already put on the schedule for is just what gets charged out. But when you go in and actually read and study and understand them, you'll see, oh, this is not right. Like a prophy is for a health patient, not for an SRP patient, not for an unhealthy patient, or like a problem I'm having now. I'm seeing the previous hygienist at my current job use the full mouth debridement code a lot for SRP patients because that's what gets covered usually.
Mm,
SRPs don't usually get covered. Some providers will let a covered list of insurance dictate the treatment rather than seeing what treatment is needed and then using that code. It shouldn't be the code that comes first. It should be treatment plan, and then your code should match what you're doing or planning. I do wish they taught that more in school.
Agreed.
So many recurring themes, right? There's so many things that we all feel passionate for that we wish there would be a change. Hopefully, throughout the years, as we all push for a better understanding of the numbers, of insurance, of treatment planning, it's going to happen. We just keep trying and advocate for one another. But Daniel, we want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights with us, your story, your history, and we're looking forward to seeing more from you in the future. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Amanda and Olivia. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you so much.